Of it all, untouchable, a new animal. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another week of LSH Live. I am Jeremy LaRose. This is LSH Live, and you are watching another week's video. This is an all-star video. We're going to pick up where we left off with these young horses, our little projects here, and continue working on them. So in this week, we're going to cover a lot of turning around. We're going to teach these horses to back up and turn around. It's going to be the foundation for everything that we do from here on out. So it's very, very important that they learn this at a young age so that they have lots of time to practice it. Remember, the earlier you teach them something, the more time you have to work on it, the more time you have to refine it, the more time you have to get it better. So if we want these project horses to turn into what Peanut's doing here, it takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of time, and we're going to have to just get these reps in. So Peanut still getting her repetition in here, getting that hip pushed around, learning to step through her face. A lot of work to be done. So we're going to take up our young horses and go from here. So we should have a pretty solid foundation for transitions, should have a pretty solid foundation for steering. We'll kind of demonstrate that in this video where our horse is going to steer effortlessly almost, that he stays between my hands and my feet. We've been very, very particular about this horse not leaning on our hands anywhere. If you've been following along with all of our videos, anytime he leans on me, I'm going to pull him, kind of a quick snap, kind of bump him out of that, make sure he doesn't lean all over me, doesn't pull on me as I'm doing things, because that's really, really bad. So I need a horse that doesn't lean into my hands, doesn't lean into the bit. The less he does that, the easier it is for me to work on him. So what you'll find in this video when we go loping around here is I'm loping around on a loose rein. And I see a lot of people kind of make that mistake when they're riding, that they're holding these young horses back. If I give him something to lean into, if I'm yanking on his face or holding myself on off of his mouth, he's going to lean into that bit. He's going to go faster. And that's not what I'm looking for. So you see here, like I'm trotting this circle, and this is pretty effortless, right? Like his shoulders and his body are right there in my hands, and he's just standing up and doing a circle as I asked for it. You see, I'm not having to do a whole lot. My feet are free to lift his belly, to lift his hind legs up to his front legs, and my hands are free to work on his face. And that's one of the big things. If he'll stand up in his shoulders, then when I go to my hands, I'm not asking for his shoulders to stand up. So you see how this lope really rocks up and back to me. Remember, we worked a lot about this. This horse tried to step forward a lot with his outside front. And this is a vastly improved lope. So if you look at his outside front, how it's traveling, it doesn't stride in front of his chest anymore. So you see this horse get really proud, really stood up in his shoulders. That makes him work off of his back end. So I'm building muscle onto that back end, which is where I want it in the end. Remember, this horse started out where he was kind of weak behind and really liked to pull himself along, really liked to drag his shoulders around and poke his ribs out to the inside. So you see here, all my lunge line work has really resulted in a horse that stands up well, stays between my hands and my feet. Here's my backup. We talked about that in the video earlier this week. That's just a couple steps out, couple steps out. As I turn here, you see me brush my leg, just brushing that leg around his right side, not looking for anything super like aggressive here. He doesn't need to rock onto his back end yet. I kind of look at that as this should be a fuzzy outline of what a turnaround should be if he were good at it. So as long as he's walking his front end around his back end and kind of holding his back end in some area, I'm just going to own it and we're going to go on and do something else. So what I really want, rather than have like be great at a turnaround and then bad at everything else, I want to move him up in stages. So it's kind of like moving through school. I use that analogy a lot. I don't want to read at a college level and then do math at third grade. So I want this to be fourth grade stuff for him. And his English is fourth grade, his math is fourth grade, his science is fourth grade. So his steering should be fourth grade, his rollback should be fourth grade, his backup should be fourth grade. And that's all I need right now. So I kind of refine all these things as we go. I don't really want him great at any particular one thing. So like my backup just kind of happens here. I don't care where his head is. If he picks his head up higher, I just lift my hands and follow him up. You won't get yourself in trouble doing that as long as you stay relaxed and calm through it. a lot of people will get aggressive in their backup and they'll teach your horse to rear. So the second I feel his shoulders unlock, I turn that pressure loose, and then when I lay that rein over his neck and change where I'm looking, he should go over there and turn his front legs around his back legs. So that's the start of our turnaround. If you watch the video where Macy was cutting me off on the lunge line, we already have some of that, but now this is by myself. So I don't have Macy helping me on the ground, cutting him off, but the foundation should be there. I kind of think of my hands as a steering wheel and my voice as the gas pedal. So whatever position my hands are in, if I use my voice, if I cluck to him, that's providing gas. So that means move your feet. And then my hands mean move your feet in this direction or in this manner. So like right here, I'll just pull. This is stand your shoulders up, bring your shoulders back to me. We talked about that first position here out of our hands. This is bring me your shoulders. And then I'm going to ask for his shoulders to come up and around. So my hands put a little bit of pressure on his mouth. My foot brushes. I cluck to him. And I'm looking for that right front to come over left front. Really important to me. I get those legs crossing over. And then I get my lope off right out of that. So a lot of people think that lope off from a walk is a super advanced transition and something you don't teach until much later. For me, I want this horse to start thinking about popping up underneath of me from very early on in our training process. It's kind of a way to test, like, how much do you know about loping off? How much do you know about that kiss? Do you understand that kiss means lope off immediately and that you don't need to trot in order to get there? So a lot of stopping here, a lot of backing up. We're going to start refining this. Pay attention to how many transitions I do throughout my ride. In this stage of the game, there's not any particular reason why, like, I stop and back up. It's just, I know I need to do a million of them. So I'm going to get practice in here now. Anytime I feel him kind of step out of line or I feel him accelerate, I'm just going to shut him down, put his weight back on his back end, and go around. And this little series right here, you can kind of see what I was talking about where I'm steering on that loose rein. I mean, this is a pretty loose rein for this stage of this horse's life. Like, he's going around basically on a drape. And I don't want to lose that throughout the training process. If there's ever a time that I can't ride this horse on a drape, then I'm getting further away from the show pen. And it's kind of a weird thing to think about. Like, the more I go around and hold on this horse's face, the more he requires me to hold on him, the less he has to stand up in his shoulders on his own. So I really want to make sure that I'm giving this horse room to make mistakes and then just owning them and calling him out if he does dip forward, if he does fall out and lose his shape and speed up because of it. So now that I have this kind of effortless steering, I can start mixing up my circle a little bit. And I'm going to start adding some short straight lines in there. So the last circle you saw, I was kind of coming straight down the arena. And now I'm going to cut this circle off and kind of make this into a D shape where I've got one straight line across the diagonal here. So here's my straight line, just trying to run that right rein along his neck and make sure he stands up between my hands and my feet. So what that requires is after I make my straight line, that's a tighter corner, which is a lot harder to do. So like right here, he's got to be light on my hands and feet when I go to make this corner. I, again, just look at this corner as how good do you steer? How good do you rock your weight onto your back end, which is really the bigger idea here. If I can turn this corner tighter, he's got more of his weight on his back end, which is really what I'm testing. If my corner, when I go to switch my hands, swings wide and he pushes out on me, so if I'm turning right and he shoves left, then I know that outside shoulder is not coming up and around to me. And I know that his back end is not coming underneath him. So I can kind of use that to evaluate how much do I have my weight up and back on my back end. The more I have it up and back, the tighter he's able to make those corners. So the sharper turn he can make. A sharp turn requires drive and lift. So he's got to lift his shoulders and drive his back end up. The more he does that, the tighter I'll be able to corner him. So it's not a measure of like leaning into him harder. It's about getting him balanced. So I just know that he'll be able to do this lighter if he gets his weight up and back, gets his body in the right spot. So you see those transitions. He's really doing a great job of getting those lope offs from the rollback. There's maybe a couple trot steps in there, but he's starting to understand the concept of popping up underneath of me. That transition being something that happens under me instead of something ahead of me. So this is probably ideal situation for an up and coming colt, a young horse. We're super happy with this horse's progress through this whole deal. Like if you can get every horse to this stage within 30, 45 days, you're doing awesome with your colts. So we're starting to do some straight lines, starting to mix this circle up a little bit. So you'll see me cut this circle in half, and I'm going to make another circle, maybe go straight here, Again, it's about repetition. So I cannot judge how he's doing on his circles or on his straight lines unless I do 3 or 4 of them in a row. So what you see here, this little maneuver, if you've been to one of our clinics, we talk about this a lot. This is a cloverleaf maneuver. So what I'm doing is I'm maintaining my left lead around there. I'm rocking him back up over his hips around every corner and then working on a straight line through the middle. So it's up to me. That maneuver is infinitely repeatable. So I can just stay on that little maneuver the whole way through and get what I'm looking for. So you see here, that lick and chew, big rewards. That was a lot of loping. That was a lot of maneuvering without a big reward. So I kind of want to make sure that he understands that as a coach, sometimes you're going to work hard. And at the end of that workout is a congratulations, way to go, dude. Like, you've done a great job. Awesome job today. So I want to make sure that every ride finishes with that kind of mentality so that he continues to try and work hard for me the whole time I ride him. So I've got my right lead to work still, but that's kind of my workout. Like, if I can get these kind of lope offs, if I can get that kind of back up, if I can start steering my circles around and start adding some straight lines into it, I'm well positioned to get my horse to really use his weight efficiently and use his body the way it's supposed to. So you see here, I'm keeping my hands wide and low when I walk around. I'm starting to break him loose at his withers, kind of shuffling my pinkies and asking his neck to drop down. That's something I'm going to start adding at a walk, and then we'll add it at a trot and a lope later on. But this is a good spot for him. Like, see how low I drop his neck here? I can always pick his head back up. I know his head will come back up. It will come into where his body is made to tie in. So all I'm doing is putting a little bit of shuffle in there. Again, I'm not looking for anything. I'm not dictating the position to him. I just want him to understand, like, you're going to feel some bit pressure. I want you to give to it and start adding that second piece to our hand positions. So that's the drop your withers right here when I take my hands and shuffle wide. Keep your hands low, give him a stage to drop into, and make sure his legs keep driving forward. I don't want to overdo my leg training to where this horse stops going forward on me, or I have to kick him every stride. So one big thing that you should notice about this horse as I'm riding is when I'm loping around, when I'm doing things, I'm on a loose rein. So when I pick up here, this is him turning in his owed time. You see me just brush that leg back and forth. I want that right leg to cross over his left. At a walk here, I can be a bit more demanding than I was at my trot or my lope. So this should be almost a pivot with his front legs. I'm going to open his shoulders up. One thing that I'm really focused on throughout this deal now, at a walk especially, is that his shoulders open up and he crosses his legs over the other. So I want the ability to make him cross those legs up. That will make my turn more efficient. The more weight that he has on his back end, the easier that turn comes, the lighter he is in my hands. So I'm really looking for a horse that's light and soft and supple. That's really what I want. So everything that I do up to this point is really focused on trying to get there. So this is, again, like I said, super happy with this horse's progress. We're going to spend a bit of time here. So this is probably going to be our next 30, 45 days are refining these turnarounds, refining these lope offs, and building the muscle. So honestly, teaching your horse these things does not take very long. I would say, like, you could teach a horse everything he needs to know to be good within 90 days, 120 days. But it's the other part, the building the muscle part, that takes so long. The building the consistency, building the muscle, that takes forever. So that's it for this week's video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have questions, comments, concerns, feel free to send them in. Check out our Discord channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LaRose Show Horses. Again, we're doing some Team LSH stuff. If you guys want to use that hashtag, if you've got videos of your horses on Instagram, or you guys want to share things, hashtag Team LSH, hit us with that. We'd love to see your guys' horses, love to see your feedback. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We will see you in the next video.